Welcome back, everyone. Today we have a tier list video as I was asked to do one, and I kind of wanted to do one now that I have played pretty much all the decks on the format, and I can have a decent opinion of as to what I think it's good on that. I'm gonna do it a bit different though of how I've seen tier lists being done. I'm gonna start with the best decks. I'm gonna identify which ones I think are the best, and then we're gonna compare what other like the other decks were like how they compare to tier one decks, and then we're gonna place them accordingly to that. So to start with, let's do the ones that I think are the best. It's definitely the first one is gonna be Zoro, as it is too efficient. You go one drop, one drop, one drop, one drop, pressure a lot. The opponent has to get rid of your board, and by the time they're done doing all of that, you drop a 9 drop and you win the game on the back of the 9 drop. So it's really simple as to what you're trying to do, but it's very efficient and it's really good. So it's definitely one of the best decks. Now we have Keymon as is the one that can compete with Zoro, definitely, as it can just tap down the opponent's attackers and not allow them to get that momentum going. And by the time the opponents are able to play the 9 drop, you have like infinite attackers that can pressure the leader. They also can play the 8 drop, and the 8 drop can pressure through the 9 drop. So it's really important for that reason. That's the whole reason that he is good and he's able to keep up in advantage with the Zoro deck. Then we have Kid also, about the same strategy. You can play him as much as the old format. The deck hasn't really changed much. You can play the 8 drop. You can you do the same. You control the board and you win with your leader because you have dual attack, and then that kind of get over the fact that the opponent's white beard makes your leader 2k more. They just still have to outcombo a 12k dual attack basically. Then we have the next best deck. I think those are of course Z. Z is gonna be another leader that I think is gonna be up there because he can compete with all of these three decks, and it doesn't have any it's just pure value. You play your cards, reduce the opponent cards cost to 0, and then you start removing cards with your leader, and then eventually you're gonna just kill the opponent because they're not gonna have a board, and you're gonna have to be you're gonna be able to just remove anything they play and attack the leader consistently. So it is definitely one of the top tier decks of the format. So now let's go to the next ones and how they compare to these four decks that I think are probably the most. Actually, I would also put Kaido here. I'm gonna put Kaido as I think he's still one of the best leaders for what he does. He just gets to do so much as to for so little. If they see their field spell, they're still favored in many matches, and if they see their field spell plus their bombs plus their queens plus the removal, even if your deck does whatever your deck wants to do, it's gonna be hard to out tempo a Kaido player, as they also have that Kid S effect where they can just burn your life and just go for game, and you can adapt your Kaido deck to the meta accordingly to what's happening. If you need your Kaido deck to be more low to the ground to combat the aggro decks, you can do that, and you can do that efficiently. If you need the deck to be bigger, taller, and just remove opponent's cards on side, then you can also do that. You can adapt to whatever the format is, and that's why I put him on the top tiers of the list. We're gonna go on order here. I'm gonna go Crocodile. As Crocodile, I think it's hard for me because I do like the leader a lot, but I think he suffers from one thing that all of these leaders do have, and that this format does bring to the forefront, and it's removal. He is really weak to removal because what you're trying to do with Crocodile, any list that you're trying to build with Crocodile, is develop one or two key threats and start defending with your leader every turn, and defend your threats every turn. And if they remove your threats, then you only have your leader to win with, and that's just not possible. The leader doesn't win by itself. It needs some other creature, and the black decks bring a lot of removal to the table. The red decks will be your best matchup, so that's why this is the best matchup. Your green matchups are gonna be 50-50. If they play the A drop, it's gonna be hard. You still have to pack a lot of removal for that. It's not gonna be the easiest matchup. Z is gonna be a horrible matchup. I cannot assure you. They're just gonna remove everything that you do, and they're just gonna able to out tempo you. Kaido is no, Kaido is a good matchup for him. But I still think like these four decks are no like guarantee matchups, so that's why I will put it on Rock. The new Kaido, actually, I haven't done a video on this one, and I haven't really tested on him. But I think he could be tier 2, as he does get to do the same thing that Kaido does. But this format is so aggressive, like against red decks, they cannot really aggress you. Because if they do, then you get to ramp for free, and you get to do everything that the Kaido deck is doing without the field spell. So you get that consistency going. And it doesn't matter that you're a 4-life leader, you can have a lot of counters, and it's just the fact that you can ramp and out tempo your opponent is gonna be meaningful. So against red decks is good. Against Keymon and Kaido, you're still ramping into your big bombs, so you can still have a good presence against those decks. Against Z, again, it's the same, basically the same. So I don't think it's in the top tables, but I think he can compete with all of these 4 or 5 decks. So that's what I will put him tier 2. This one, I haven't played with him for sure. I don't think he gains anything out of the new set. So I'm gonna put it as a rock. Probably the lower levels of the rocks. I should maybe do another one which is like not this format yet. Let's do another list. Add a row below, and then we'll call it not its format. Because it might see in another format, it might see more play, but this is not the format for him. I don't think it doesn't gain anything against Zoro. It doesn't gain anything against these 2 decks. This just removes their cards now, so it just doesn't gain anything special about him to be able to compete with anything this. So it's not, maybe down the line, but not yet. Flamingo, I'm sorry, I should have put this one in tier 1. Flamingo is definitely a tier 1 deck, and I definitely skipped it. There's no order on these ones. I don't think one is better than the other. This is just another thing. Flamingo will do good against Zoro, will do against Keymon, will do good against Z, will do against Kaido. All of these leaders, the only one that he will not do good against will be the Kid, because they do play the A drop. But the Kid has seen a lot of decline in playing, at least on what I've been testing with. People are going to see a lot of people are going to try the new leaders and the new cards at the beginning of the format. So it's going to be a great card to play, great leader to play. You're going to get free wins because he does good against everything on the top tiers. The only thing is the A drop is the only card that gatekeeps him a little bit, but you still can do really well against everything else. So that he's a top tier deck for sure. Garp is definitely a tier 2 deck, edging on tier 1 actually. I need more testing with him. So far, the games that I play with him feel really strong. He plays a game plan close to what Z is trying to do, but he has a finisher on the 9 drop. And I think he's close to be to a tier 1. He could be a tier 1.5 for sure. I think if I need to keep exploring and see if he does have a really weak matchup against something. But against all of this, it gets to do very well. Against green, it's insane because they're never going to have a battle card. Against red, you could say it's the worst matchup because you're a 5-life leader, but the white beer does mitigate some of the downside. Against this deck, you get to tempo them a little bit. I think it has a good matchup against all of this. So it could be a tier 1.5 or a tier 1 deck, actually. But I'm going to leave it on tier 2 until more results come through with him. Ivankov, I'm going to leave it at tier 2, as I think it does really good against red. And it does really good against purple for the most part, because it gets to dump creatures every turn, and you can outpace the removal a little bit. And it's the same against Kaido. And you're really fast, so it does really good against these 3 decks, but it has a really tough matchup against the green decks. I feel like if they play the new A drop, they can just remove your board every turn. They have infinite blockers. It's just like it's really hard to beat these two decks. I haven't tested against Flamingo, but I assume it's gonna be also not that good of a matchup because they do play the 7-drop and they can set up their cards more consistently. Although they do have I don't think it's that horrible of a matchup in here, but I think this is gonna keep them out of the being the top decks out of the format. But I think it's in the higher end of the top tier. So I'm gonna do it in order, I guess. This one will be in the higher end too. Now we have King. Kid is not really playable. There is nothing that he gained out of the new format. I mean, I guess he can get like some impel down cards and some consistency in some other engines, but he's really not that amazing. His effect is not good. Sakatsuki, I think I haven't played with him. I need to play with him to make sure. But I think if I'm gonna put like a black deck on the top, I think it could be Sakatsuki and a Smoker. Let's do both at the same time. As I think they do basically the same thing. They just play black cards. This is the new color. This one is a little bit more aggressive, as you can have the black cards be like your negging effects, and then you can remove with everything else. This one at least is removal on the leader. They don't have really no impressive abilities. This one being able to be a 7k for 1 energy is not really that impressive. It's just that it has a 5 leader that you can play with 5 with all the black cards. And this one is about the same. His ability is not that impressive, but it can come clutch if you're trying to remove, like if you're playing against green or red. I mean, against green decks or purple decks or black decks. You get to remove this stuff easier. I don't think he has necessarily a decent matchup against any of these top decks. It's just okay. It's not the worst. It's not a bad deck by any means. It's missing a little bit to be here on the top tier tables. Law I think is here on the tier 2, aging into the top tier 1s too. Because it has a decent matchup against red, I think. Depending on how you construct the deck, that's the main thing about the leader. The leader can have a good matchup against any of these decks, depending on how you construct it. So if you make it really aggressive, you're good against Kaido. Maybe you're good against Z. If you make it really controlly, you're really good against Kid. You're gonna get against Reds. So it can beat any of these decks, but it depends on how the deck is constructed, and it will lose in some matchups, in gain in some matchups, and so forth, and like depending on how you construct the deck. So it's hard to measure, and I don't think it's a tier 1 deck, but I think it's close to it. Magillion is not impressive. Another leader that just is play, but it's not like not playable. I think he's not this format yet. I will put it here. As I think is missing some support or some cards to make him better. His ability as a leader is not impressive, really. But the cards that he get to play because he is an impel down card leader are okay. I don't know, horrible. So it does get some, like, maybe in the future, if they get more support for him, it could be better. I'm going to play Odin. Odin, I think, is more in the rogue side. Even though I do like him a lot, and he does get to play a lot of the new green stuff, I think he's more like a glass cannon type of deck. He could beat any of these decks, any of the decks on the format. He could beat it, but it does take for you to drop very well. It doesn't like automatically has like that leader ability that can beat anything, or like that is special about him. It's just like he gets to play really good cards that if you see them in the right sequence and in the right order, you can beat any deck. Like, it doesn't matter what you're playing against. So he will go from tier 1 to really not playable depending on your hands. So that's what he has going for him. I would put as a rock option, as is not the best deck, but he can get there. Sometimes he can beat these decks depending on how you draw. Whitebeard, I will put on tier 2. Actually, it's not tier 1. I think if there was a tier 1.5, he will definitely be there. As depending on how you build this deck, like if you play like a Moby Dick engine, you're really relying on the Moby Dick, and if you don't see it, your deck is so bad with everything else. Like it's actually like not even like not playable. Like it's just like it comes really down if you don't see your Moby Dick, and if you make it like super aggressive, I think that's the best way to do it right now in this format, as you're not as consistent like in the next format. Um, it could be decent. It could be really good. So I think that's probably the best way to play him. Playing him as a rush character, and every card that you play has like rush, and you can have to defend your leader every turn. Maybe you can even play the 9-drop if you want to. But yeah, that's I think that's where he lives. That's where he probably should be played, and it could compete with all of these decks. But it really depends on his hand too. It's not that inconsistent because you do see a lot of cards in the top, like in the first few turns. But it's risky to play him, and you have to know how to play him to be good. But I'm gonna put it on like on the top end of the tier 2 decks. We have Sanji. Sanji, it will be a rock deck, and it probably is not his format yet. Like it will be in between here. It's a good color combination, blue and green. It's exceptional. The problem is that the fact that you have to play so many vanillas to make it work kind of contradicts what you're trying to do. I think there are engines that can work with him very well, but it's still not like if a tier 2 deck. I think it still has some flaws against these top tier decks. That like against red, they're super fast. You're a 4 life leader, but you also can play a lot of cards. But you're still not as good. Against green, they can tap your stuff, KO your stuff. It's not as amazing. So I think it just lives here on the rogue tier for this format at least. Luffy is a leader I love this format, and I think is a tier 2 deck close to a tier 1 deck, as it gets to do what Zoro is doing, but you also add some like important green cards that can outpace and outgrind any of the other decks. I'm hesitant to put it on as a tier 1 because actually we'll put it on the top end of this list of the rock tier leaders, because I think he's really strong, and I think he has a lot of potential to be a top tier leader. Again, it's just a matter of like see if he can sustain that. Like I will play it, I will keep trying him, but I think he can just deal with any of the decks here. I just need more testing to him to be able to put him on confidently put him in tier 1. We have Red Luffy. As Red Luffy didn't get anything, you really lost the ability of the deck. Like he thrived on last format because Zoro was not as good against the Kid deck, and he capitalized on that. He was really good against those type of decks. But now with Black being a color, and being able to remove his cards consistently, I don't know if he's even. I think he becomes a rock deck. I don't know. Maybe you can also play the 9-drop. So just because you can play the 9-drop, I'm gonna put it on tier 2 because the 9-drop is an insane card, and there is a world where you can like this leader can play the 9-drop, and when you play a second 9-drop, you do get to use the leader ability, the white bear ability, to clear something. So when you go back to back 9-drop, this leader utilizes that effect the most, like the best, because you can give one of your rested dons and you can give the extra free one, and you get to clear something and use the leader. So, and that's something that the other leaders cannot do. I mean, they can do with the help with Nami, but this one is on the leader itself. So it could be the best 9-drop leader that you can see, as it allows you to play the 9-drop and do another do like something like that. So it probably relies on the 9-drop to be like the best car engine for your to finish everything. So I will try it out. I think it's a rock tier 2. I'm sorry, let me move these black decks here, as I think they're better than the Kaido, however. But yeah, I think it's a tier 2 leg deck. I have to try it again to just make sure that that's the correct place. Let's just not spend too much time on these two, as they are definitely not playable. if you ever want to play like Zora, like I'm sorry, like Ura, you just play Zoro. Like it's the same effect but better, like way better. So why would you play her? It's just not feasible. Him is a vanilla leader that when you use the effect, you're gonna lose 3 energy, and the effect is not impressive. Just gaining, I think it's 3k on an attack, 2k on one of your film cards. You have to play like in a specific deck. It's just horrible. His effect is horrible. And so this is what I put the list of the decks that I think could compete, and depending on how you play it and depending on how you're doing it, I think they can be at the top tier. And I see two new leaders here at the top tier tables that can compete with everything else, and that are the decks to beat. And I think this is how like the tier list is right now. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you like the way I did it, please let me know. If you want more like how they usually do it, where they just do 1 for 1, or if you don't want to see tier lists at all in the future, I can also comply with that, because I mean, I don't mind doing them. I don't mind not doing them. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Please consider subscribing. Have a good day.